we are fun. Boxing. Wait, what is this? This is the wrestling one. Oh, wrestling. Yeah, sorry. It's the hardest part of the ring. Hey, the hardest part of the ring. Sometimes you get trapped in a headlock, and you're worried about smearing your lip gloss. You shoot her off and take a shoulder block. Do the leapfrog, give her the hip toss. Oh, it's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. I'll double claps. Clap, 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 clap. Let's go, Bob Squad. It was Monday Night Raw. On the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Ba-da-ba-da. Whoa, yay. What is going on, Bob Squad? What do you say? What do you know? Rubbing elbows, greasing palms, one-trick pony, beating a dead horse. Off the hook, off the wall, off the chain, under the table, under the weather, under the radar. Squeezing lemons, stopping on a dime. Don't know where we're going. We are making good time. We are talking to candy and eating strangers, and the grass is always greener when the early bird gets the grease. What are we talking about? We're talking about the Hulu edition. Hulu edition. Not doing enough commercial interruption. They should limit them more. But they don't. They're all over the place. The type of commercial interruption where you think you have a bad Wi-Fi and the screen is fuzzy, but for some reason the ads are always crystal clear. I don't know why that is. Because they don't care. Because there's no laws that protect people. This is the end. It's the goddamn end. WWE August 1st? Yes. The first Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam. The second WWE Monday Night Raw Hulu edition with Triple H completely in charge that we know of. And this is the bigger test. What changes? Can we get a little bit more insight what changes are coming? He did the go home show last Monday and stayed there. Probably finished out whatever Vince had all lined up and with his own tweaks. Did SummerSlam, and damn SummerSlam. Whoa, Nelly. Hot damn. I hope you're not in the hotcake business, because you'd have no idea what they're selling like. SummerSlam was a hootenanny. And now we are back to Monday Night Raw. Let's see what happens. My notes. The show opens with Hulk Hogan slamming onto the Giant. Didn't know that was going to happen. Had no idea. Didn't know Hulk Hogan was going to slam onto the Giant. Didn't think he would body slam onto the Giant. To John Cena's soothing melodic voice. Kind of voice that puts a tired toddler or a worn out puppy to sleep. God, I love his voice. We have Becky Lynch. Whoa! She's coming to the ring and her arm is in a sling and she's going to say something. So, because she's got a broken wing. Can I keep this going on? Not really. Oh, she's in the ring, as I said already. So, Becky's in the ring with a sling saying a thing. And her arm's hurt. She dislocated her shoulder and popped it back in or something or other during the match on Saturday with Bianca Belair. Her shoulder is injured. So she's got it in like a sling and cushion thing and her ribs and blah blah blah. But before she says that, we see a long package, a long, throbbing, blue-veined package, telling us all about her excellent match with Bianca at SummerSlam. Bianca says hello, and she hugs Becky, but not too tight because Becky is injured. And Becky leaves and says she's got to go back and rehab and yada yada, but she'll be back and she's going to be the man again and not big-time Becky. Okay, very nice. Everybody's happy, and this was very good. And it wasn't too long, and there's another segment later on I want to bring up the point of that length and how it helped the segment and made it more effective. Becky didn't go as long as she's been going for the last year. Let me take a sip of water, prevents fatigue and headaches. It's good water. I have my water room temperature. It's easier on the kidneys. I drink room temperature water. When I'm not drinking room temperature water, you know what I am drinking, Bob Squad? Never mind, I'll just tell you, it goes faster that way. I am drinking 0-calorie cream soda Dr. Pepper. That's what I'm drinking this week. I'm enjoying it. Don't be mad at me, Pepsi. I never got my checks. We never had an agreement, but I never got my checks. So, cream soda Dr. Pepper Zero it is. So Becky walks away, and Bianca says she respects Becky, and she's going to keep on being an EST, and she doesn't talk for long either. And we see on the big screen, Becky Lynch is in the back, and she is on the floor, and she is being pummeled. She is being assaulted. It is a criminal assault by Bailey. Io Sky is Io Shirai's new name. I actually don't have a problem with it. It's close enough. And Dakota Kai. Okay. And Bailey's always had one name, but at least the other two kept their first and last names. I think the losing of the first or last name is going to go away, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of them come back. I think that's going to disappear. Theory is actually the goofiest one. We're used to it already, but anyway. So, and I love this, because the second Bianca sees Becky, and she's only been friends with Becky for 2 days, friendly, but they showed respect. Bianca, and this is how you know a wrestler is in charge. And I'm going to say this 90 times, and probably next week too. This is how you know a wrestler is in charge. The second Bianca, the top champion babyface, sees that someone she just said she respects is in physical danger, Bianca wasted no time, dropped her belt, and bolted. I wrote the word bolted down because that's what it was, and up the ramp as fast as she could to chase off those heels and check on Becky. I think they were gone, of course, so they were already gone. I have no idea if the attack backstage was filmed live or pre-taped. Don't know. Doesn't matter. Point is, Bianca, the top babyface, saw that she didn't let the invisible ropes, because otherwise, 2 weeks ago, in the Vince McMahon era, she would have stood there, like mouth and hands like wide open, like what, like basically mugging for the camera, because that's what they would have told her to do, and just stood there flabbergasted. But instead, she did what she did, and people knew shit was on when they saw her take off, so they weren't that mad that she left. If she kept standing there, they go, well, that's stupid. So this entire opening segment, I really enjoyed, and I think it was the most pleasurable part of the entire show. Babyface was acting like babyfaces, heels were acting like heels, and the talking wasn't too long. I think instead of I don't know what the real numbers are, but it felt like Becky, who usually goes 10, went 5, and Bianca, they usually make her rattle off exposition for 6 minutes, and she only talked for 2 or 3, and didn't have to say much. That was very, very good. There are 2 triple threat matches on this show. The winner of each triple threat match wrestle each other, and then that person will go on next week, I believe it's next week, to wrestle Bobby Lashley at the U.S. Championship. There's a wonderful package around this time. More packages. But this was good. It showed the history of the U.S. Championship, and it basically told us why you should care. And it's not just because we get the warm and fuzzies when we see Dusty Rhodes and etc., etc., etc. We do get the warm and fuzzies, but that's not the sole reason. The reason is make everyone care about this championship. Remind people why it's important. It's not important. But remind people why we want them to care. Right? Okay. That was really smart. That's a wrestler in charge. Okay? That's totally a wrestler in charge. The first triple threat match is The Miz with taped ribs. I don't like the cut of his jib, but we're going to stop doing that. Miz versus Mustafa Ali versus AJ Styles. AJ gets the Duke here. Ali, I'm still not feeling a lot of very athletic and impressive pre-planned stuff, and I think he's just a boring guy otherwise. AJ's got a little more spunk, a little more fight in him. Obviously a ton of experience, and he's 45, and he's still one of the greatest wrestlers, if not the greatest wrestler on TV right now. But he's definitely in that conversation. So, anyway, amazing finish. Ali hit. Well, I'll mention this too. I hate just talking about the high spots. That's annoying, but it's worth noting. Ali does this dive, jump over the top rope onto AJ, and quick catches AJ in a tornado DDT. Looks like he killed them both. But Ali does the 450 on top of Miz, and he pops up upside down, and AJ just snatches Ali up for the Styles Clash, which he does to Ali on top of the Miz, and then rolls over Ali and pins Ali. I was a little confused, or not confused, but it was just worth noting while AJ is pinning Ali, Miz has got his arm over his face and he is saying something to AJ. And I'm wondering if AJ was just supposed to pin the Miz to put more heat on their thing. Because really it was weird for him to just pick up the babyface, dump the babyface on the heel, and take that babyface off and pin him. And Ali stayed down, of course, but still, I just thought it was peculiar, and especially because I'm wondering at that point, okay, the match is over. That's clearly the finish. What else does Miz actually have to say to AJ Styles? There's nothing to talk about. So I thought that was weird. That's done. AJ Styles goes on to fight to win the other triple threat. We see Alexa Bliss versus Asuka, and there was a logo that said this match is coming up later, which you never see on Raw, or haven't seen recently. To tell us of a match, and well, that's interesting. But I guess they're both baby faces, and they do have this match, which I for sure thought would not have made Hulu. And now I knew why it did make Hulu, because they wrestled each other for 3 minutes, and it's silly to see Alexa competitive with Asuka. So I know Alexa has her fans. I'm a fan of hers too. But Alexa too competitive with Asuka is kind of goofy looking. It's very quickly a no contest though, because the heels, Dakota, Bailey, and Sky have to get used to that attack. The two baby faces, because they're just beating everybody up. And Bianca runs, and the three baby faces just knock around the three heels and chase them out into the crowd. And then there's a challenge, and Bianca says she wants to fight one of his, and Io Sky points to herself, implying that she should be the one to wrestle Bianca Belair, and later she does. Io Sky, if she was formerly the genius of the skies and now she's Io Sky, is she the genius of herself? I do not understand. But it works. It works. We'll get to that match in a bit. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was weird, like seeing the heels get like punched and bumped out already. I thought they should just take off, but whatever. It's not the end of the world, is it? Is anything the end of the world? Well, something will be. The next triple threat to wrestle the person who wrestles for the U.S. Championship is Tommaso, just Ciampa. And is he going to Ciampa after? Is he going to become the U.S. Ciampa? I hope so. LOL. Versus Dolph Ziggler, who is a babyface, and his attacks, his messing with Theory have still unexplained. Versus Chad Gable. Okay. Was Theory on this show? I don't think he was on this show. Maybe he was. I don't know. Did he not make Hulu? He had to be on this show. I gotta know now. He definitely was not on the Hulu edition, which is crazy. But anyway, we'll have to look into what's going on there. Ciampa versus Dolph versus Chad Gable. Ciampa win. He beat Chad Gable with his fairy tale ending move. They gotta change the name. That's not a tough sounding move, but Ciampa's a tough looking guy. The Miz is at ringside. Dolph is there again, just there, as they tend to do with him. But there you go. So it's going to be Ciampa versus AJ later on. Still a sign we might need a bigger roster, doing a lot of these multi-mans. I mean, doing a lot of guys wrestled twice type of deals. Edge comes out to the ring, and the ring announcer imitated Tony Chimmel's old introduction where he says Rated R Superstar, that whole thing. And Edge gave him a point to acknowledge what he had done, and then Edge said he was an asshole. Himself, not the ring announcer. That would just be random. Hey, you're a ring announcer. Guy's an asshole. I remember that though. And Edge kept it short. He said he's gonna destroy what he created, and he hates Finn Balor. Goodbye. He kept it. He did more milking than he did promo, and it was fine. It's all you needed. I know they have 3 hours to fill, but for just wrestling purposes and not TV purposes, this was perfect. And people were with him. I saw a lot of people online kind of shitting on the Houston crowd, which is disgusting. Why are you shitting on other human beings? Use a toilet, you maniacs, you animals. And I saw people shitting on the Houston crowd, saying they were dead and they were this and they were that. I didn't think they were that bad. They're not as big as SummerSlam. I don't tell you. And it is Houston, and they did have to see a lot of minorities. That did confuse them. Bob, Jesus Christ, what? The Mysterios are talking to an Irish guy, and the Irish guy says, "I'm Irish," and they go, "Well, we're not." And then that was the end of that conversation. A blonde lady is talking to those three heels, and Bailey said the game, I think. It's all about the game or something, which is a reference to Triple H. Io Sky wrestles Bianca Belair. So this is Io Sky's first main roster match. She wrestles Bianca Belair. And granted, she is wrestling the champ. So this is going to be Bianca's match. If you're looking for it to be Io's match, there's really nothing. Some fuzz on my computer. There's really nothing I can tell you. Io did one moonsault to the outside. So she did a couple of her things of her running knees and stomps and a moonsaulty. But I don't know. I think Bianca had her way with her way too easy. Especially the announcers should be telling us, I feel like, that Bianca just had the fight of her life. She had to beat Becky Lynch 2 days prior, and that Io was fresh, so that should be an advantage. They didn't really. Bianca really just kind of ran through Io for most of it, which still, for more than half of it, Bianca should be, but I thought considering they're brand new heels, that's kind of telling. That are the three of them going to be a force, or does Bailey have like two heaters on the outside? I'd rather the three of them. Bailey's still clearly the leader and the lead talker, and I guess Bailey is the final boss. You eventually you go to the other two to get to Bailey, which is like most factions are, and that's fine. But I really thought there was going to be a little more menace to Io Shirai. That she was more of a dangerous weapon in the group than she was presented as. I was a little, but it's one match, and this match was a no contest, so they didn't beat her. What happened here? Oh yeah, the other two baby faces, Asuka and Alexa, show up. So the six of them brawl again, and then nothing really happened. So this did fall apart. I think this story. I think if we had not seen any of those women after that first segment, I'd be goddamn that was awesome. But am I maybe a little overexposed here? And I know it's a 3-hour show, but you can't bring everybody back on the first week too. Yes, the other thing too. He's got to bring these people back. I love the people on the internet. He's got to bring these 12 people back to now. Like, no, he doesn't, because you're not going to remember any of those debuts if he does that. And also, I'm one of the people who claims Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, if you're not familiar, treats the wrestlers like action figures. He just buys them up to have them, and then after 2 weeks we don't see him again. We're like, whatever happened? And then he has a new toy. And he treats them like action figures in a sense that they're always doing crazy shit with no repercussions. Well, sometimes the internet treats the wrestlers like action figures too. They go, we want so-and-so back. Go get so-and-so. Go get Bray Wyatt. Go get Naomi and Sasha. You can't just get them. They're humans. Do they want to come back? Are they doing something else? Do they feel like it? Do they have enough money? Are they hurt? Would they like to have more family time? Are they just not freaking ready yet? They're humans. You don't just go get them. They're not, I'm sure many of them are, yes, sitting around waiting for that phone to ring, but a lot of them probably aren't. So you can't do that. But Miz and Ciampa can talk to an Irish guy. It's the same Irish guy from before. And Irish guy goes, "Oh, I'm Irish." And Miz goes, "Well, us not so much. We're both from Ohio." I think Miz is from Ohio. Where's Ciampa from? Is he Pennsylvanian or Ohioan? Who the hell cares? That's boring information. It's Houston, so Booker T joins the announcers for a minute, and that's cool. I like those little nods. People cheered for Booker T. Tommaso Ciampa is in the ring, and Tommaso Ciampa wrestles AJ Styles. And much like Io and Bianca, this was really more AJ's match. But AJ can. He's almost in that Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio territory where you can beat him every week and he's still a legend. Doesn't matter. And so Ciampa does beat AJ here because Ciampa really needed it. Losing doesn't hurt AJ, but losing would have hurt Ciampa here. And we need a match because if we put AJ versus Bobby Lashley, we're splitting the audience with a babyface match for no real reason. So there's no point in that. So now just sort of speculation, just to raise an eyebrow. Maybe Ciampa will do it. And it's a different match. So Ciampa does beat him. If there's some interference from Miz, I think at first I thought Ciampa was going to win by a count out because AJ had Miz over the barricade. The referee couldn't see Miz. Miz was holding AJ's foot, so he couldn't return in time. Okay, very good. But he actually got in time, but the distraction was still enough for Ciampa to cut him off and hit his finish. 1, 2, 3. I can't stop saying Tommaso Ciampa. I can't just call him Ciampa. I'm not there yet. So it's Ciampa and Bobby, and again, they're telling us what the matches are for next week, or at least one of them. They're giving us next week's main event. They're telling us what it is. Why should I come back next week? Why should I care? Give me a reason to come back instead of just a show where every match is supposedly made last minute. So what was their plan for 3 hours of television? That always bugs me. So now they're like, hey, you have to earn a championship opportunity. I hope they just call a title shot again. But either way, they're like, hey, we gave you a package telling you why this title's important. Now we made guys win 2 matches. We needed a guy to win 2 matches in one night just to get a chance to fight for it. So you know why it's important. The guy had to win 2 matches to get there, and next week we're going to do it. It's as intriguing of a build-up, I think, as you possibly could for the U.S. Championship right now. I'm for it. I'm all for it. The Usos in the main event, God help us. They beat the Mysterios clean with their 1D, day 1, whatever, 3D-like maneuver. Nothing to write home about here, and why would I bother my mother with that information? Why does she care? She doesn't. Did the Usos need to beat the Mysterios clean? They beat Dominic. He just did something stupid and they hit their finish on him. I forget what it was. I don't really know. But the Judgment Day, Finn and Priest and Rhea Ripley come out to beat up the Mysterios. The Usos have disappeared. Edge is here, and his hair is shorter. He's got a red leather jacket, and he makes evil laughing faces, even though he's a good guy. And who does he punch? I forget. Anyway, I think he just bumps Finn and Damien or whatever the hell, and then he goes to spear Damien. And Rhea Ripley, she's at the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, and she puts her hand on Dominic's butt, I'm not kidding, the side of his buttocks, and she shoves Dominic into Damien, which moves Damien out of the way for Edge to hit the spear on Dominic. This was beautifully timed by like all 4 of them, or I guess 3 of them. Damien just had to get shoved out of the way. This is beautifully timed by all of them. Total pros. I loved this. And Edge hits the spear on Dominic, but then Edge takes off. See, in Vince time, Edge would stand there like kneeling and crying and over-emoting and just being overly dramatic because he accidentally speared another wrestler, which he should and did feel bad about, but it wasn't the big crime of the century. Anyway, but Edge takes off through the crowd, and again, this thing, he doesn't hang around to mug for the camera, much like Bianca didn't hang around to mug for the camera in the first segment of the night. Edge takes off. He's chasing the bad guys. At one point, Rhea Ripley has this head scissors on Dominic, and everyone on the internet is making a joke about how they're jealous Dominic because Rhea, they want to have relations with her privately in the nude with the genitals and the thrusting and climax resulting for at least one of them and everything else. And Dominic, you should have turned around and like all this. I'm so jealous of Dominic. I didn't think it was that big a deal. I'll use the picture for this thumbnail, I guess, but it wasn't the end of the world. And Rhea joked about it and ran with it on the internet too, which should squash it. So I don't know. I just didn't overly freak out about it, but whatever. Yeah, everybody's horny. We all want to do the sex in the nude with our penises. Anyway, Rey Mysterio is, and there's no music playing, to give it a little bit of aura. And his son's injured. His son got hit with an Usos finish and a spear, which is 2 finishing moves, but in most wrestling moves, everyone takes 3 finishing moves and is walking around just fine afterwards. I don't know. But they played it up like Edge really hurt Dominic's ribs, and I guess this should make Rey really mad at Edge, but Rey is also a veteran, and also there's video footage, so he should know it wasn't intentional. So is there going to be a rift between Edge and Rey? Is there going to be a tag team match with Edge and Rey where they bump into each other and get into some kind of physical argument? No, there's not, because Edge doesn't wrestle on Raw, so that's not going to happen. Who knows? Maybe at that UK Cardiff thing they'll further this and Edge will put the tights on for that. Maybe, I don't really know. But that was Raw. Very good. Wasn't as good as last week's, no, because last week's had a different energy and excitement and history behind it. MSG, first one ever without Vince. Blah 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 blah. Triple H, the whole thing. SummerSlam's around the corner. You know, you're not going to match just the circumstances here. This is Houston. This is SummerSlam's over. This is now we know Triple H is in charge. And it wasn't really a card. They didn't spend the go home show on Raw last week advertising this week's Raw because they're showing us the SummerSlam. So it's not like this week where we know next week's main event is Lashley and Ciampa for the U.S. Championship. So that will be very good. I'm looking forward to that. I need to give you guys another arguably episode. Hopefully tomorrow I can do that. Thankfully I've had a couple of comedy shows. Last night's comedy show was awful. I did 6 minutes in front of 2 people in the 5th row. 2 whole people. My first question to the people: are there any couples in the audience? And that was my biggest thought. That was embarrassing. In New York I performed for 2 to 4 to 6 people in bars all the time, but never before at this the Comedy Store in La Jolla. Even though I know it's a Tuesday, but 30 people were there earlier, but they had left because it was really late. They'd watched an hour open mic and then an hour and a half of show, and they're just ready to go. So nothing I could do. It was a total eclipse of the heart. So let's just hope that next week, if Tommaso Ciampa finds himself in the Hurt Lock for Bobby Lashley, he can look to The Miz for assistance should Miz choose to climb up on the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Ba-da-ba-da.